Looking on what is currently happening in the U.S. from the perspective of an elder, I see reason to be hopeful. With 70 years under my belt, I have been watching societal trends since the 60s. What I see is a natural trend toward humanism, inclusivity, and freedom of expression. It is a social evolution towards greater expression of our true selves. Working against this, there are three forces: xenophobes who fear change, religious conservatives, and consumer capitalism, which seeks to reduce everything to a marketing fad while maximizing wealth and control over the system. Weaved through this as the woof and warp, you see that when folks are younger, they are apt to be freer and more rebellious. But as they grow older, they become attached to the little they have managed to claim for their own, and become fearful of losing the world to which they are used. This transforms them from radicals into standard bearers. It becomes a shifting generation gap. The rebellious youth of today become the conservative establishment of tomorrow, amplifying the aging trend towards conservatism. Is a society where elderly are increasingly at risk of losing everything they do have. In fact, this affects us at all ages. We have no security. In the 60s and 70s, as stated, we made great strides forward in humanism, civil rights, and freedom of expression. By the late 70s, conservative forces undercutting these advances, exploiting them in order to absorb them into capitalism, took sway. In the 80s, there was a concerted effort by capitalists and religious conservatives to exploit the reactionary xenophobes and plant the seeds to halt and reverse this growth. Through the 80s, 90s, and aughts, these two trends, one towards civil rights and self-expression, and the other towards fascism, continued to pace each other, sometimes engaging in battle, but often going on as though they were happening in separate rooms. Unfortunately, the reactionary forces under the leadership of overarching capitalist establishment played a long game and dominated the board. They took control of media and so gained control of the narrative. The final force at work here is global exploitation of humanity and the environment by capitalism. The reactionary and capitalist forces controlling the narrative were able to obfuscate over the objections and warnings of environmental scientists and social scientists until we have reached a point of no return. Our critical planetary systems are on the verge of collapsing, and virtually all of humanity works under the yoke of capitalism. At this point, the capital class can only continue to accrue wealth and power by appropriating it directly from the working class, while pirating the remaining sources of the planet as decline advances. They are now setting the stage to remain on top while the biosphere unravels. They are standing on the heads of everyone beneath them and are prepared to throw over the reactionary xenophobes, MAGA, along with everyone else. They are approaching a point where they will not need us anymore, except in their service. However, we must remember that they are all reactionary. They are making their play right now, and it is a very nasty play that will harm most of humanity, starting with those of us in the trans, LGBTQ+, POC, and female, both cis and trans, communities. Though they have built their house on our backs, it is a house of cards. Our strength comes from our hearts. It is the strength of growth, the strength of health, and the strength of positive evolution. For decades, the problem has been the silent majority. They have been too comfortable in their own lives to speak up. But now they are losing their comfortable seats. They are finding themselves directly affected by this fascist movement, and they will feel the pain over the next couple of years. They are seeing the insanity of what is happening, and they are finding themselves threatened on a personal level. Here in the United Snakes, they are seeing that they never had it as good as they thought they did. They are, in fact, living in one of the most exploitative and oppressed nations on the planet. Over the past year, they have seen the bloodthirst of our leaders. They have seen that they will not be helped by their own government in the face of growing environmental crises. And quite recently, they have gotten a peek at how well off people are in other nations that were formerly demonized. I do feel a groundswell building in our society. The reactionary forces of capitalism, conservative Christians, and MAGA are already resulting in a counterforce among the majority of the population that has the weight of positive change and social evolution behind it. It is my hope that the pendulum has swung as far to the right as it can go, and we will see a recoil that will propel us into real social change. We need to be wary of who attempts to take control over this recoil. The capitalist oligarchs will try to ensure it is the established Democrats in the United States, so they can prevent real, meaningful change. They will give up on the overt fascist revolution and even cede ground if they can continue to steer the helm, keeping us firmly in the waters of capitalism. If we truly want to save not just ourselves, but the generations to come and this planet, we must wrest control of the deck from them. We need not just a correction, of course, but a mutiny. Ahoy, mateys! It's the pirate's life for me. Love you all. Wishing you the best. Next few years are going to be hard, but I think we're going to come through it. I hope so.